Welcome to the Pain-Free Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Dana Jones. I am a certified personal trainer, and I'm here to help you achieve your fitness goals without pain. In each episode, I'll share tips and strategies that will help you stay safe and pain-free while you're working out. I'll also interview experts in the field of fitness and pain management. So if you're ready to learn how to stay active and pain-free, then subscribe to the Pain-Free Athlete Podcast today. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Pain-Free Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Dana Jones. Today, I am honored to welcome Dr. Carl Rothschild. Dr. Carl is a chiropractor, inventor, and brilliant mind behind the revolutionary Trifecta Light Therapy. With over 4 decades of experience in holistic wellness, he has dedicated his life to helping people heal naturally and live vibrantly. In this episode, we'll dive into his journey, his breaking technology, and how red light therapy, is changing the way we think about recovery and health. Welcome, Dr. Carl.
Thank you so much. I love talking about helping and red light therapy in particular. So you got to know that I started in the 70s. It was about 72 in college when I was looking for something that I was a bit of a hippie. And my version of hippie is that I was more interested in helping people than how much money I was going to make. And even today, I mean, I don't mind making money, but I really enjoy helping people, as corny as that sounds. And so I became a chiropractor. I mean, I got interested in chiropractic. I moved from Brooklyn, New York to Los Angeles to become a chiropractor, to go to school. And I opened up my practice in around 78, 79. So I've been doing it 46 something years and loving it. I mean, I really got a kick out of being a chiropractor all those years. And then about 26 something years ago, I was introduced to red light therapy. And of all people, I was introduced to it by a medical doctor who was a professor and a orthopedic surgeon out of USC out here. He was the first one to bring red light therapy to the science, and he was the one that got it FDA cleared. And so I was working with him and that first device. But I got to tell you, so he comes to me with something that looks like a flashlight. And I was 20 years in practice by that time. And of course, I thought I knew everything. He brings me this thing and says, yeah, shine it on people and it's going to make a difference. And I did not believe it. But he convinced us my partner and I, to use it in our practice. And within a month, it absolutely revolutionized my practice. I was able to do things. And that's with equipment that is thousands of times weaker than what we're currently using. But even so, back then, we were able to have some reasonable good results. This lady had gum disease. Can I help her? I had no idea. The only thing that we knew for sure is we couldn't hurt somebody, but they didn't know how it worked or why it worked. And yet today, I'm going to reveal how it works and why it works.
But okay, that was going to be my next question, because I've been red light curious.
Red light curious. I like that.
Yeah, well, because it's as an athlete.
Write that one down. Red light curious. I can see
red
it
light
now
curious
in a flag or a banner or something. Or on my shirt.
Are you red light curious?
Red light curious. Okay.
Yes. Well, because unfortunately, if you're on Amazon and you see this stuff and it's crap because they have so much of it. And so you want to know, like, is this just some crappy device that they're making in China, or is this actually something? And I guess that probably interferes with your practice a little bit, because of the fact of, why should I even consider your stuff? Because I could just buy it on Amazon for $19.95.
Well, you can buy shoes for $2. And I mean, do you not know what you're getting yourself into when you're going to get, quality shoes versus not? And then in the world of technology, I'm going to go over what you should be looking for and why I developed the bed that we developed. We have the highest medical grade device that has features that you need to look for. At any rate, there I am. He hands me this thing. This lady says she has gum disease, and I helped her gum disease. This guy said he had a kidney problem. I'm not a kidney expert, not pretending to, but we know one thing: it couldn't hurt. So why not? And we helped his kidneys, and it just went on from there. All the musculoskeletal issues, any bone, tendon, ligament, whatever, and then anything on the skin. And we weren't sure about all the internal organs and stuff, but as it turns out, over the years, as the the stuff got stronger and had more capabilities, you'd be hard pressed to find any condition that we couldn't help. Now, I know that's a bold statement and that makes me sound stupid, but I don't know what to say. People are calling me up. They go, "Hey, you didn't tell me it could help this or that or whatever." So when I get a phone call from one of our practitioners, he said, "Tomorrow, I have a guy coming in who is having heart attacks regularly, once a week, if not even more often than that." I'd never heard of that before. So this guy was dying, and every time he had a heart attack, his heart would stop. The defibrillator that they had implanted in his chest 12 something years ago would shock him back to life, and this is how he was living his life,
Holy
which was
moly.
odd. I mean, I forgot to ask him. I'm going to ask him if someone's holding his hand and his heart stops and the defibrillator goes off. Are you shocking that person? I don't know. I don't know how it went, but I was astounded by listening to this. So the practitioner called me up and said, "Should I even treat him? I don't want him having a heart attack in my facility." And I said, "I'll tell you what, just treat him for 5 minutes and stay in the room the whole time." And after that treatment, that guy's never had a heart attack again.
Wow.
12, 13 years of heart attacks, no more heart attacks. Now he's had more treatment. I don't want to make it sound like you just need one treatment, but that one treatment was very impactful for him. In some cases, it takes more than one. Well, most of the time, it'll take more than one. But with this guy, it just took one. And as a matter of fact, if I were to put somebody in the bed who's great, they have no issues at all, I don't know if they're going to see a difference. But what we have found is that when someone is a mess, the worse off they are, the more dramatic the changes seem to be. But let's get back to the history here. So there we are working with lasers. And then over the years, they got stronger and better. And by the way, we called it cold laser,
Okay.
meaning that the lasers didn't get hot. It didn't mean they were literally cold. And the distinction was, again, between the hot burning kind versus these cold lasers. Now, why would you want a cold laser or why would you want cold therapy? Is when you create a therapy that will generate a lot more heat, which would generate more blood flow, which will bring blood to the surface, which blocks the penetration of the light. That's exactly what you don't want. So you want the highest medical grade lights that are really strong hot. And that is the science. That is the difference between the junk that's out there and high quality medical grade devices. So there we are 13 something years ago. And it's discovered that there's an element of red light and only red light. Now, at that time, I wasn't using red light. I was only using near infrared. And we're going to talk about infrared in just a little while, the word infrared, but I was only using near infrared. That's cold laser. There was another company out there, mistakenly so, who were thinking that red light could do the same thing, and it can't. It's okay, but it's not nearly as powerful from a healing point of view as near infrared. However, because they were only using red light, they're the ones that found out that there's an element of red light that will help with weight loss. How many things out there do you think are as popular as weight loss?
Right.
Next to
Nothing.
nothing. And people will do anything to lose weight. They'll take poisons. They'll get injections that are shown to have pretty terrible side effects. As a matter of fact, you're going to see more pancreatic problems since they've been using these new injections. And these companies are making not billions, but trillions of dollars off of this, literally trillions of dollars. And there's you'll as it's becoming more and more popular, you're hearing more about it. It's basically a type of a poison that affects the vagal nerve, blah, 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 doesn't allow you to digest, whatever. But I'm not interested. As a chiropractor, we don't believe in putting anything in the body that does not belong there or yanking anything out that does belong there unless there's no other possibility. And so we always say, try natural first, see if it'll work. And then if that doesn't work, then thank God there's surgery. Thank God there are drugs. But when you do drugs and surgery first, I think that's a mistake. At any rate, there I am finding out that red light will actually help to shrink fat cells. And what do you think I did? I started manufacturing at that time because, come on, it's the most popular thing. Even to today, If I go to my marketing teams, and we have several companies that work with us, and I would say, what is the thing that will bring most people into a facility? It's weight loss. It's weight loss. It's not, with the type of weight loss I'm describing, doesn't kill fat cells. It doesn't injure fat cells. It's about, okay, well, why don't we go over how it works? The mechanism for fat loss is what they determined is that this red light actually helps to change the permeability of the fat cell wall. What that means is it makes the fat cell wall more porous and allows the contents of the fat cell wall to leak, some of the content, to leak out. It's only lasts a couple of hours to a day. It's not permanent. It's not injuring or damaging anything. And a day or so later, the fat cell is back to normal. There's no change. With our special protocol, we're going to move the fat that's been released out of the fat cell and over to the lymphatic system and eventually to the liver for use or elimination. So, yeah, I mean, that's when I got involved with manufacturing. I said, I want to be part of this in a bigger way. And I was involved with lasers and I was involved with pads and a whole bunch of different stuff. But then about 5-something years ago, this thing hit all of us called COVID. And our practitioners were calling us up saying they would like to have less physical contact between the patient and the provider. What would we suggest? And we came up with a bed, a red light bed. And it has a top canopy that comes down. The person lies on it first. And the beauty of it is that people say, well, how much does it cost? I say, well, straight out, you're going to save thousands of dollars because you don't need staff for this. So that's number one. Number two, it's about $1,400 a month to lease. And this is a high-end medical grade device. And we'll talk about purchasing or whatever later on. But so we made this bed with the notion that it was going to be a replacement of what we had up till that point. We didn't expect anything other than hopefully it would be at least as good as what we were using up to that point. And wow, within a month, we started getting unbelievable results, like with that guy with the heart attacks. Or like Steve that had contracted Lyme disease when he was 12. Now, we don't meet him until he's 50. So that destroyed his childhood, or it ruined his childhood. It ruined his education. It ruined his social life. And it ruined his potential of having a career because he couldn't have one. He had no energy. And he was so depressed because his life wasn't great, let's put it that way. And he gets in the bed and then gets out of the bed. And after that, just that one visit, he goes, I don't notice any difference. And he thinks it's a bunch of hooey. 5 hours later, and ever since, it changed his life. So I'm going to send you these videos, and I welcome you and your audience to watch these videos and see if this doesn't blow their mind as much as it blows mine. People calling me up. And the key phrase that I love, remember, I was a hippie. I wanted to help people. And now more than ever, we're hearing, thank you for giving me my life back. Why do you think I became a chiropractor? That's what it's all about. Thank you for giving me my life back. I couldn't walk, I'm walking. I was losing my eyesight, and now I'm not. So we have a guy that had the equivalent of multiple sclerosis of the retina. It's called Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy. And there's nothing they could do for him except for drugs to kind of kill the pain because he was getting migraines and headache, but he was going blind. And after a relatively short period of time of red light therapy, he's not going blind. Whatever eyesight he lost, we're not going to get that back. Just like same thing with multiple sclerosis. If we can get somebody early enough, we can halt the progression. And it's a progressive type of disease, which just keeps getting worse and worse. They never see otherwise. And so when this patient who had multiple sclerosis went to the neurologist and they saw no change from 1 year to the next with his multiple sclerosis, they had never seen that before. They assumed it was a different drug or something. And they went, no, it's red light therapy, which they had not known anything about. Nobody, people in a certain industry don't want to know about these things because here's the difference. $30,000 or let's say $1,000. Now, if I put $30,000 on this side of the room and $1,000 this side of the room, and I have 50 people come into the room, where do you think they're going? Normal, everyday people are going to go to the $30,000. Well, that's what a medical doctor can make Why would he go this way if he can go that way?
Right.
That's the problem. When you put, everyone get like capitalism. I think it rewards people who put the effort in. It's not like everyone says everyone's equal. No, they're not. Some people work much harder than others. Some people deserve that. And it gets frustrating if the guy next to you who does nothing is making the same as you are. That's not so much fun. And that's what happened to Soviet Russia and why they struggled, because they weren't rewarding people who were, anyhow, I don't want to get involved with
Yeah.
politics, but
So, but let me ask you, so you come up with this concept and you have gone from the, I guess, handheld laser?
smaller devices.
Right. So smaller devices to the bed. So how do you deal with the skepticism or possible controversy? Like, do people ask you, am I going to get cancer from laying in this bed? Or,
I've been a chiropractor for 47 years. You want to talk about controversy? I had, in my first 6 months of practice, I was threatened to be put in jail. The guy says, the medical doctor says, I'm calling the sheriff on you. Oh, yeah, why? If you treat my patient, I'm going to have you put in jail. So am I worried about the silly controversy that people have when there is none?
right.
In the 50 years of technology, there's never been a recorded side effect. Never. So when someone comes to me and says something that they know nothing about, fine, read my book. There's no such thing. Never been a recorded side effect. What the hell? Can you
So
imagine?
then why aren't we using this more? So why aren't like doctors
Ask
having it?
great questions. I love that. 30,000, 1,000.
Okay. Right.
It is a revenue killer to some industries. If everybody got in the bed that I'm talking about 3 times a week for the rest of their life, the amount of drugs needed, hospital stays, and surgeries would drop significantly. And nobody wants that. I mean, nobody in that industry wants that.
Well, we want, the patients want it because I would like, I mean, even the stuff that I do with the mind body that requires nothing, right? Except for work on the person's part to go a little bit deeper and looking at the origin of their chronic pain, which most of the time is emotional. And there's not really support for that, right? They think that we're crazy or, there's got to be a reason for it because they see that degenerated disc or whatever it may be. And there is this weird concept of keeping people sick. And
Because that's where the money is.
I
How
know
much
it's just,
money do you think is people who are well?
yeah, right.
Not a lot. How much money is it if someone's ill? A lot of money.
Right.
People do not realize, first of all, you know why some people don't take care of themselves? They're not scared enough. They're
Right.
not scared enough. And their 70-year-old self or 75-year-old self is crying in the background going, would you please take better care of yourself? Because who's going to suffer? You, when you're not I mean
But
them,
your
whoever,
family,
when they're older.
right.
No, them, when they're older. They're
Right.
75 years old, and they're the ones that are going to suffer. The 30-year-old self doesn't care yet. And you know why? Because they're not scared enough. And I got scared at 30. How did I get scared? Number one, I had patients coming to me, and I would not say it out loud, but I would say to myself, please, God, don't let me wind up like that. I don't want to wind up like that, where they can't feed themselves. They can't bathe themselves. They can't wipe themselves. They can't function. Who wants that? I liken well-being and health like a candle that burns really bright from the beginning all the way to the bottom and sputters out and dies. And that's not how it happens most often. The
No.
last 20 years of people's lives in this country ain't so great. So I'm 72 years old and I am praying, but I get in the bed 3 times a week because and I don't have an ailment per se, but I do it because I want to do that candle thing. I want to have the highest quality of life I can have. I know I can't do what I did 30, 40, 50 years ago. In fact, I think about how much energy I had that I don't have. So I get it that I'm not like I was then, but I'm doing the best I can. And that's what I'm asking of anybody. Just do the best you can. So don't get drunk and often don't drink a lot of alcohol. Alcohol is one of the worst. We know smoking, so I'm not even going to bring that up. But a lot of people, look at it. If you watch television, drinking is revered. Everyone who's cool's got a drink in their hand. There are people in a higher end life and position who don't drink. But drinking is abused on television. It's abused by people. If you go to college, it's all about getting drunk. So anyhow, I don't want to get hard. Don't drink if you can help it, or drink a lot less. I don't drink. I never smoke. I do what, it scares me. And so I don't want to put anything in my body that might do me harm. So I'm not going to take chemicals and I'm not going to take injections by some people who think I should. But anyhow, it's a whole nother.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. So now I think people are a lot more open to these types of therapies because of the fact that either they don't want to just disintegrate and die. And also I think we're a lot more open-minded because we're not just believing what our doctors are saying. People are looking for alternative treatments. Where do you see this type of therapy going in the next 5 to 10 years?
It's challenging. Now, and don't forget, I still want to tell you, I told you the mechanisms sort of how fat loss works, but I need to tell you the mechanism of how the healing works. But where do I see this going? I'm telling you that wouldn't it be lovely if everybody used a lot of the natural healing stuff? But I've been doing this a long time, and I can tell you that it's worse than ever. And I'll tell you why. If you watch television ever, the more commercials than ever before are about not selling you on a drug, but selling you on a drug that you're going to tell your doctor, because it's
Yes.
prescription only. You have to now tell your doctor, who I guess doesn't know what the right drug is, that no, don't give me the purple one. I want the blue one. So there are gazillions of dollars being spent to convince Americans of what the right drug is. So it's a tough battle. But I do want to go over how the mechanism works for the healing aspect. Before I even do that, those of you that doubt me, and I don't blame you because it sounds outrageous, go to Google Scholar. Are you familiar with
Yes.
Google Scholar? So it's scholar.google.com. Go to Google Scholar and put in the word photobiomodulation, photo, Photo, meaning light, bio, bio, for cells or tissues, and modulation is, well, it does something. Photobiomodulation. And then press enter, and you'll get tens of thousands of different articles, double-blind studies, and research papers about photobiomodulation. And then put in whatever you doubt. You want to put in the word, if you say that somebody said it could cause cancer, which is baloney, put in that word. Show me, prove it to me. There's never been a recorded side effect in the 50 years this technology has been studied. Meanwhile, let's talk about how it works. So when it first came out, and this is not uncommon in the world of science and technology, they don't always know why something works in the beginning. They didn't know why aspirin worked for many years. So there you are. We know that near infrared is so healing, but we didn't know why. And then they discovered, and you and I know that there's this thing called the sun. We're on the same planet that has sunlight, and it's all about sunlight. But we're only going to use 4 glorious elements of sunlight, not UV light, not blue light that has can screw up your circadian rhythm, only red and near infrared. Now, infrared, there's no such word as just infrared. It's either far infrared, which is the most common by default. If someone says an infrared device, they're talking about far infrared, which is a fancy way of having heat. I am talking about near infrared, which is the cold laser. And if I start repeating myself, just hit me over the head because I talk about this all day long. So at any rate, we're a near infrared lovers. Okay. So the near infrared has been shown to stimulate the cells of the body. But more specifically, let's get involved with that. You got tissue, and all the tissues are made up of cells. And all the cells have these different things. They have the nucleus, they have organelles. One of the organelles that's critical is called the mitochondria. Now, the mitochondria, when I went to school, we learned that there was one mitochondria in every cell. It's not true. The heart, which has the highest demand for energy, has over 5,000 mitochondria for every cell. So first, let's talk about, well, what is the mitochondria? What does it do? Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the body. It's the reason why you and I breathe oxygen and eat food. It produces a molecule called ATP, which is the energy currency of the body. With a high functioning mitochondrial system, you'll do fine. It's the dysfunctional mitochondrial system that is what's causing the problem. And it is thought that as you age, your mitochondrial system is going to fade and it'll lead to disease and death. But what we found is that if you get the right amount of light energy, we can reverse that. And that's why it's so global. Every tissue in your body is made up of cells. Every cell has mitochondria, and every cell that has the mitochondria, that mitochondria has an element inside of it, which is called a chromophore. A chromophore is sensitive to sun, just like your skin has something that's sensitive to sun and other tissues in your body, but in particular, the mitochondria has this thing called cytochrome C oxidase, and it's stimulated by certain elements of sunlight, most importantly, near infrared. And if we can penetrate as many cells as possible at the same time, we're going to bring the mitochondria back to life, bring it back to health. That's why a full body bed is what's so critical. Like I said, I used pads and all, we did all these things. But now with a full body exposure, front, top and bottom, front and back, left and right, inside and out, we're getting as many cells involved as possible. That's when we're getting these glorious results with anything. I mean, so many different things, including dementia and Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and multiple sclerosis, autoimmune disease. So we had a lady that had severe rheumatoid arthritis. And it was tragic because she was a professional dancer. And at the age that she got the rheumatoid arthritis, she was now not professional, but she liked to dance. Couldn't dance anymore. And she couldn't even use the key to get into her home. So she'd have to knock on her neighbor's door, who would assist her in getting in her home. And after 2 weeks of red light therapy, she could get in her home. And after 1 month, she's back to dancing. She still has issues. I'm not saying, all of a sudden she's like a 19-year-old and great. It's the same thing with this lady that had Parkinson's and dementia. I mean, she was 85 years old and the family didn't know what to do with her. She was belligerent with the dementia, and she was dangerous to herself and others. But the Parkinson's wasn't helping either. So they were ready to put her in a home, but they figured they'd give this one last shot, and they used a red light bed. And getting her in the bed that first time, because you've seen anyone with Parkinson's, they're rigid like a stone. They could barely move, and they certainly can't turn or whatever. So they had to get her in the bed, and that was not easy. Getting her out of the bed after that one session was much easier. And ever since, she actually is now at the point, after just a few weeks, of being able to get in and out of bed herself. And her dementia she's lucid. She can have conversations with people like she hadn't been able to do for quite a while. So it's the full body experience to get this type of thing. I don't mind people getting a face mask or a helmet. That's fine. Those are toys as far as I'm concerned. If you want the high-end medical grade device, you need a full body bed that does certain things. But getting back to the mitochondria, so we're talking about the cytochrome C oxidase being stimulated by sunlight, in particular near infrared, which is the best type of light, which now brings the mitochondria back to health. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay,
Well,
so
kinda, because you're talking very sciencey, so no.
but did I mention did I talk about how the fat loss worked? I did, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we know now how the near infrared works, how the red works. So near infrared doesn't do anything for fat loss. It's only red. Red does some healing, but it's mostly the near infrared that does the healing. So we've integrated the bed together with red and near infrared. We were the first company to do that 12, 13 years ago. And now everyone's doing that now. So you want to integrate red and near infrared for a variety of reasons, but I'm not even going to talk a lot about that. But so now we talked about the healing aspect. We talked about the weight loss aspect. I want to talk to you about athletes. If you're a professional or even serious athlete and you want to perform much better, you want to get in this bed before the activity. I had a guy call me up and says, I am now swimming twice the distance I used to be able to swim. Twice because of the red light bed. That's how impactful it is. And so that's the kind of feedback we're getting on a regular basis. So that's why the NBA has one of our beds, why the Olympic Training Center has our equipment, why the major athletic facilities, including a boxing facility, a very high-end boxing facility. So why would they want that? Boxing's an interesting thing. In a sport, you may get injured.
Right. Combative.
But in boxing, whether you're the winner or the loser, you're going to get injured. And so they will get in the bed for a month or two before their bout, and they'll perform much better. And then they get it in it after the bout for at least a month, as often as they can, and their recovery is much quicker and much more thorough.
Let me ask you a question. So we're not professional athletes and we can't afford this bed. So how do just regular citizens get access to
So
these beds?
there's three possibilities. There's one, people want to just try it out in their local area. So they go to the website, trifectalight.com, and they go to the Contact Us page. And on the left side, it says, find the location closest to you. And we can't list the locations for privacy reasons. So when you fill that out, a staff member is going to get you the information of what office is closest to you. And it takes 6 visits. Each dose is 12 minutes. And you'll find out, can it work for you? It's foolish if you have any ailment to not try 6 visits, right? I'm not in practice, so I'm not inviting you to my office. I'm not inviting any of you to my office. But I'm telling you 6 visits and you'll know. And then sometimes it's 1 visit and you'll know. So does that answer that question?
Yeah, as long because like I said, I don't believe that people are gonna have these in their houses because
That's not
us
true.
regular
I've
folk.
got about, okay, so now on the left side of the website on the Contact Us page is try it out. Use it, treat it, whatever. And on the right side is purchasing it. Now, there are 2 reasons to purchase it. Some people have more money than health, or they recognize being sick is very expensive. Hanging out in the hospital for a week and see the bill. So you have no idea. I know some of you have insurance that covers it fairly well, but even the copay on some of these things are pretty amazing. So there are 2 kinds of people that are going to buy it. One, have more money than health, or they recognize being sick is a very expensive deal and they can possibly avoid getting older. This is a fountain of youth bed. And how would you like to not get older, to have what we call age gracefully and do it in a smart way? The other thing is people that wanted it for a business, and it's genius for that. So I just got off the phone with this lady, and she loves the bed. She's having a great experience. She doesn't have the money to buy it, so she's going to continue treating, but she's referred 18 people to that facility because she said, I would love it. I mean, it's made such changes in my life. Listen, satisfied people don't refer. It's excited people that refer. And I've never seen more excited people as I have since using the bed. So you go to Trifecta Light, left side, try it out. And if you like me, you make an arrangement with that facility and just use it regularly for the rest of your life. That's my suggestion. If you're smart and you want to use it in your business, and the beauty of it is it's so safe. You couldn't hurt somebody with it if you tried. You don't need to be a health practitioner. What you need is some smarts when it comes to the body. So massage therapist or an esthetician. And of course, it's great for the skin and hair and crepe neck and all that stuff. Anything on the skin, including all kinds of different issues that people might have on the skin, the response is phenomenal. Fine lines and wrinkles, all that stuff.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you have a book,
I do. So yes, I have a book. It's called Illuminated Healing,
and where can we find that?
Amazon, and it comes in 3 forms. You can get it as a Kindle for a few dollars. I think it's $4. And you can watch it on, read it on your computer.
Mhm.
You can get it as an Audible if you want to listen to me talk for 8 something hours, or you can buy the book. Again, so it's Illuminated Healing. You can put my name in there, but the name Rothschild is infamous.
That was all very popular.
It's also unpopular at the same time. So I do a lot of marketing and a lot of videos and stuff online, right? And I can't have comments allowed anymore because they'll go, I wouldn't buy from Rothschild. He owns the world. What? You think I own the world? Thank you very much. It's all a bunch of crap. But so just put in Illuminated Healing. You'll be safe.
Okay. And then
So here's what I want to talk to you about. I got the book.
yes.
We talked about the website. The other thing is I would suggest going to the YouTube channel. It's great. And so you go to YouTube and you put in the word Trifecta Light Official, one word, and you'll see over 120 videos, and some of them are just really spectacular. There are sizzle reels. We did a Super Bowl commercial, a 30-second commercial that turned out really good. But there's 120, more than 120 videos of all kinds of stuff. Me being interviewed with the company. I have quite a large following, and I have a large group that work with me. So there's a lot of information in there.
Well, Dr. Carl, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
And yeah, we'll chat again.
All right. Thank you so much. Wish you the best.